According to Webster, salesmanship is defined as adeptness at creating interest in new ideas, products, and methods. While portfolio management has often been referred to as the blending of art and science, I'd argue the adeptness of creating an interest in a product or strategy is the blending of art and science in the sales process. Over the years, the association has worked tirelessly to diversify its membership, not just by gender and race, but by products within the asset management industry, such as channels like the defined contribution channel, alternatives, hedge funds, private equity, real assets. And this needs to continue, as I'm sure it will. I remember several years ago, I was chairing a panel, and it was early on when we were trying to finally have a session on hedge funds. And a lady by the name of Marcia Roth, who many of you probably know, works at Angelo Gordon. Marcia sat in the front row, and even before we started the panel, she raised her hand and she said, well, I'm glad Aimse's finally figuring this out. So it's come a long way. We obviously have that, the fall conference that over the past few years has really been dedicated to the hedge fund space. And I think that has enabled a completely additional group of members to become exposed to Aimse that prior to that effort we were missing, and we're glad to have them. My beautiful wife Carol and I will be married for 22 years this September and dated for 3 years before we were married. So she's really grown up in this business with me, and I'll never forget what she said to me the first time in an Aimse meeting. She walks in to the exhibitor reception on the Sunday night, looks around, realizes how many people I know, how many friends are there, and she says, now let me get this straight. She said, all these people are your friends and they're your competitors. For 17 years, Carol traded energy futures in the commodity space, and she was just dumbstruck by this whole thing. She's like, I could never do this, have that type of a relationship with my competitors. A fellow broker would try to steal my client away from me just as soon as you could possibly turn your head. So that's a testament to the type of industry that we're involved with and very lucky to be a part of. Carol, thank you. Thank you for the years of love and support that you've given and continue to give to me. Your amazing understanding of the demands of this business, the incessant travel, and yes, even the occasional round of golf. Most of all, thank you for our two wonderful children, Lauren and Austin. I love you dearly. Thank you. Over the years, Aimse has played another very important role for me, and I touched on that, and that's friendship. Through the years, the Aimse industry, all with a unique and meaningful impact on me and my family. Meaningful in that we've shared births, birthdays, graduations, Aimse conferences, weddings, and even funerals. And I count myself as the lucky one for having been able to call all of you my friend. So thank you. Honestly, if I was to name every individual, you all would get very upset at me for keeping you from the bar. But I do have a few that I would be absolutely remiss if I did not spend a minute to tell you a little bit about them. First and foremost, my father and a very, very, very dear friend, Jim Wood. Jim and his wife Jan made the effort to come over from Orlando to be here tonight, so I wanted to thank them. But more importantly, about my father and Jim, it was through a professional relationship. My father, for several years, for close to 25 years, was in the insurance industry. And at one point in time, he was president of an association within the insurance industry called the Chartered Life Underwriters Association. And as a result of the insurance industry doing so much work in the estate planning, financial planning, etc., back in those days, they had strong partnerships with the banks. And at the time, Jim was head of marketing and sales for Indiana National Bank's trust department. And so they had developed this personal friendship and professional, and they started chatting at one point in time. And I guess my name came up. I was a recently minted undergrad from Indiana University, and I wasn't very happy in the initial job that I had chosen, having gone to work with an insurance company in Indianapolis in the group pension area. And Jim was kind enough to tell my dad, have him call me, have him come on down, we'll have a lunch, we'll talk. And the next thing I know, he's kind enough to offer me a job. And it was from that standpoint forward, developing that mentorship and personal relationship and friendship, and it was because of the two of you gentlemen that I'm standing here tonight. So thank you both very, very much. I can't tell you what Dick's comments meant to me, sitting there in the audience as he was going through his introduction. It touched me beyond belief. But I think more importantly is the fact that another key aspect of life is that it's because of Kim, his lovely wife, and Dick, that Carol and I were introduced. Carol and Kim knew one another from first and second grade in Norwich, Connecticut. Dick and I met several years ago when we were both early in the industry in Dallas, became great friends. The two of them got married, and they were the ones that introduced Carol and I. So, Kim, Dick, we love you. Thank you so much for everything. Obie McKenzie and his lovely wife, Natalie. I have to tell you that the 5 years that Obie, Dick, and I worked together at Merrill Lynch Investment Managers was, without a doubt, the most fun time I've ever had in this industry. And I gotta tell you, we would go at it with one another behind closed doors. We'd complain, especially around comp time. But the best part of it was, at the end of the day, we were able to leave that there. Business was business, and personal relationship was personal relationship. We'd leave the office, we could go have a beer, and everything was off to the races again. But it was fantastic working with those two guys, and the wealth of experience that I learned from each of them has continued to be invaluable. So thank you, guys. One other quick story, and then I'll close, but it's funny how life does work out and the way things happen. I just shared with you how Carol and I met through Kim and Dick. And in the late 80s, I was working for a firm in Houston, Texas by the name of Criterion Investment Management. And when I had the opportunity to leave, I was actually coming up to New York, and my boss, John Pipkin, said to me, he goes, "You got any ideas for me? You know, you got anybody that you might think would suit well and fit in here?" And I gave him one name, and that was Mark Sullivan. And Mark tells this story, in fact he told it last night, but I want to share it with you, that it was through Mark's decision to end up moving down there, but based on that introduction, not only did he have a good time working at Criterion, but he met his lovely wife, Nancy, and they got married, and both their kids, Kyle and Kristen, were born in Houston, and another family growth out of the Aimse industry. So Mark, congrats. I opened by saying how honored and humbled I am by this recognition, and I'd like to leave you with one final thought, which is a quote from a gentleman by the name of William Arthur Wood. "Greatness is not found in possessions, power, position, or prestige. It is discovered in goodness, humility, service, and character." Thank you.